President Trump denounced white supremacy in his address to the nation on Monday. He urged the country to condemn it and the racist screed allegedly posted by the El Paso suspect prior to his attack.
In one voice, our nation must condemn racism, bigotry, and white supremacy. These sinister ideologies must be defeated. Hate has no place in America.
President Trump's own rhetoric has come into question in recent weeks after he went after Congressman Elijah Cummings and Baltimore, which is in his district. Mr. Trump called the city rat and rodent infested days after attacking 4 congresswomen of color, whom he said should, quote, go back to their countries. In response to that, the Washington National Cathedral released a statement saying the president's words were more than a dog whistle. Reverend Mariann Edgar Budde is Bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of Washington, and she joins me now. Thank you so much, Reverend, for being with us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
So you worked on that statement from the cathedral, and it also said this, quote, make no mistake about it, words matter, and Mr. Trump's words are dangerous. So with that as the backdrop, what did you think when you saw what happened in El Paso over the weekend?
Well, first of all, let me say what happened in El Paso over the weekend was a national tragedy of epic proportion, and our hearts go out to the people whose lives are lost and forever changed. Words speak for themselves and actions speak for themselves, and while none of us would draw a direct line associating the president's words to heinous acts such as this, I think it must be noted that he has consistently given encouragement and cover to the very groups and whose ideologies he condemned today. I was grateful for his words today, but the implications over time of the last 2 years, and in particular the escalation in the last few weeks, are a sobering reminder of how we can expect violent deeds to be motivated and inspired by violent words wherever they come from.
From a faith-based perspective, can you just talk about the notion of racism and bigotry and why it is that, from your perspective, you find it so morally offensive?
Well, from a faith perspective, and this is true of all major world religions, Christianity among them, every human being is a sacred child of God. And in Christianity, we say there is no distinction between any human being, no matter their race, their gender, their nation of origin. We are all sacred in God's eyes. And so when you have ideologies that dehumanize and make stratifications between human beings, that is an offense not only against human beings, but an offense against God, in whose image we are all created. And so, yes, we have a moral responsibility to not only speak out against such actions, but to do whatever we can to ensure that we follow up those actions with deeds and policies that reflect that truth, that fundamental truth.
What would you hope to see now from not just the president, but from lawmakers in Washington as well?
Well, in terms of the response to the gun violence epidemic, I have been a long-standing advocate for a comprehensive approach to what has become a national epidemic with very complex and different expressions and manifestations, but all having in common the staggering number of guns that we have in this country, how easily they are accessed, the weaponry that belongs only in armed conflict between nations, if they belong at all, but certainly not in the hands of civilians, and illegal trafficking. So I would be among those who would call for swift action to begin addressing the epidemic at its root causes. So that would be my response to gun violence. In response to the racialized rhetoric, I think we are calling all Americans, not the least of which those who hold the highest offices in the land, to begin languages of unification rather than polarization, when we must come together as a nation to address the many issues that we must resolve.
Reverend Mariann Edgar Budde, Reverend, thanks very much for sharing your perspective with us.
Thank you. I appreciate your invitation.